Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're new, you can catch up on Master Jun Honglu, president, director, founder of 20R Australia Oriental TV and Radio, back in episode 1.
Yeah, we covered his background there.
Exactly. So today we're going to focus on some excerpts from his teachings, specifically from Dwell in Clear Enlightenment.
Right, and the idea is really to look at how these teachings might offer, practical ways to handle daily stuff and maybe find a bit more inner peace.
Okay, sounds good. So where do we start?
Well, let's jump right in. Master Lu begins by defining what it means to be a practitioner. He actually writes, let me find it here. Every one of us is practicing, but what exactly does the term practitioner mean? Those who are qualified must first reach a certain level of spirituality.
Okay.
Firstly, when encountering any kind of suffering or hardship in the world, the practitioner must have the ability to endure it. Their level of spirituality must then gradually increase.
Endure it.
Okay.
Right.
Also, after a certain period of time of their practice, practitioners should act in accordance with karmic conditions and not feel pain. When they feel pain, that means they haven't truly liberated themselves from suffering. Only when their spiritual state elevates to a certain level can they be called a practitioner.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. For you listening, when you hear that, you probably think about, tough times, work stress, relationship issues, maybe personal struggles.
Right, and Master Lu is saying a practitioner doesn't just, grit their teeth. It's more that their inner strength, their spirituality, actually grows through these things.
But that phrase, act in accordance with karmic conditions and not feel pain,
Yeah.
that might make someone pause, right? Does that mean just becoming numb?
Yeah, that's a really important clarification. And I think what's fascinating here, and something for you to consider, is that Master Lu probably isn't suggesting we become like robots with no feelings. It's more like reaching a point where you understand that difficulties are, well, temporary. Maybe even seeing them, as he says, connected to karmic conditions, past actions, cause and effect.
So it's about not letting the pain just take over.
Exactly. Moving through it with some acceptance, maybe even focusing on learning from it. You know how sometimes you look back at something really hard and you can see, okay, I actually learned X, Y, and Z from that.
Yeah, definitely. Hindsight, right.
That's the kind of growth I think he's pointing towards. Less about suppression, more about understanding its place and not getting stuck.
Makes sense. Okay, so next, Master Lu talks about dealing with those everyday things, little annoyances that, chip away at our peace.
Right. He says, first, a practitioner must prevent afflictions from arising. So if you still find afflictions springing up everywhere, that means you are not a true practitioner.
Tough standard.
He continues. For a practitioner, if the afflictions do arise, they should immediately use their wisdom to subdue it within their mind.
Okay, afflictions. So we're talking about worries, frustrations, getting angry.
Yeah, exactly. Think about your day. The delayed train, that annoying email, maybe a disagreement, those little sparks of irritation.
And he's saying we should become aware enough to catch them as they start.
That seems to be the idea, noticing that flicker of annoyance before it becomes, full-blown anger or stress.
But then how do we use wisdom to subdue it? What does that look like practically for someone listening?
Yeah, good question. Wisdom here could be, well, it could be really simple.
Yeah.
Like taking a breath, pausing instead of reacting instantly.
Okay, the pause.
Or maybe trying to reframe it. Like, okay, the train's delayed, annoying, yes. But maybe it's 5 minutes to just breathe or listen to something instead of fuming.
Right, finding a different perspective.
Mindfulness, too. Just noticing the feeling, okay, I'm feeling irritated, without judging it or needing to act on it immediately. That can take away its power,
Okay, so it's about catching yourself and choosing a different path in that moment. Now, Master Lu uses this quite vivid image, the demon of afflictions.
Yeah, he writes, when we are practicing, a demon will arise from our minds. In Buddhism, we refer to this as the demon of afflictions. The more afflictions you have, the greater the demonic obstructions. It is your job to dispel them.
The demon of afflictions.
When the demon of afflictions approaches, the best solution is to go with the flow, acting in accordance with your circumstances. Maintain a cool, calm state of mind, even in adversity. No matter what disaster befalls you, calm down first of all.
Wow. That demon idea really captures those times when you feel totally overwhelmed, doesn't it? Like one stressful thing happens and suddenly everything feels like a catastrophe.
Exactly. That's the demon messing with your perspective.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Drowning in stress, can't think straight. So how do we go with the flow then? Does that mean just giving up, being passive?
I don't think so. Not at all. For you listening, think of going with the flow here as accepting the reality of what is worth, without adding extra negativity through your reaction.
Okay. Accepting without fighting it unnecessarily.
Right. Recognizing what you can control and what you can't. And like he says, the first step, even in a disaster, calm down. That pause gives you space to think, to respond wisely instead of just panicking.
Right. Think about times you've reacted impulsively when stressed. Did it usually help?
Rarely. Usually makes it worse. So yeah, a calm mind can actually start finding solutions.
Okay.
Let's take a brief pause. When we return, we'll explore how Zen meditation can help us quiet the chaos of the mind.
So moving on, Master Lu talks about the stillness of Chan, or Zen, meditation.
Yeah, he says the mind must not have any fluctuations. This is known as Chan, Zen meditation in Buddhism. Chan meditation allows us to calm our chaotic minds.
Calming the chaos.
With a calm mind, you can have no fluctuations within. It is like a river making waves as it flows, and then when it reaches the ocean, there's not a single wave. A person with meditative concentration has a mind as broad as the ocean, which can accommodate every turbulent, breaking wave it encounters, subduing all of them.
That's a lovely analogy. The mind like an ocean, capable of holding the waves without being disturbed.
Exactly. And what this highlights, for you listening, is that even if you're not doing hours of meditation, those brief moments of focus, maybe just focusing on your breath for a minute, can give you a taste of that deeper calm, that ocean state beneath the surface chatter.
So even little pauses throughout the day can help tap into that.
I think so, yeah. It's finding those pockets of stillness. It's not about stopping the waves, the thoughts, completely. That's probably impossible, but creating a bigger, calmer space for them.
Okay. Next up, Master Lu discusses the effortless flow of mind and energy.
Right. He says, let your mind and your energy flow effortlessly. For example, when somebody is very angry and unhappy, stopping them from losing their temper or showing their emotions will cause them to get sick.
Oh, interesting.
Therefore, you should allow them to get all of the emotion out. The energy emanated by the mind should be left to flow freely. Follow its flow and cultivate your mind.
Now wait, that sounds a bit like it contradicts the earlier point about subduing afflictions, like anger. How do those fit together?
Good point. But think about it this way for yourself. Completely suppressing strong emotions, like just bottling up anger, isn't healthy either, right? It can build up.
True. That can lead to problems down the line.
So I think Master Lu is suggesting you need healthy ways to process these feelings, not just ignore them or clamp down on them entirely.
So it's not about just yelling at someone when you're angry, but maybe acknowledging the anger and finding a healthy outlet, like exercise or talking it through calmly or journaling.
Exactly. Acknowledging it, letting it move through you constructively. And this idea of flow, it isn't just for big emotions. Think about creativity or solving a problem.
Yeah.
Haven't you noticed sometimes when you stop trying so hard, stop forcing it, the answer or the idea just flows? That's kind of the same principle, I think. Less resistance.
Yeah, I definitely know that feeling. Trying too hard blocks things up. Okay, then he stresses consistency, right? With cultivating regardless of conditions.
Yes. He says, in addition, it's not the case that when you encounter unwholesome conditions, you quit cultivating. Nor is it the case that when you encounter wholesome conditions, you stop your cultivation. Neither is correct. Regardless of the situation, you should still cultivate diligently.
This feels really key for anyone trying to learn or grow in any way. It's easy when things are good, harder when they're not.
Absolutely. The real commitment shows up when it's tough, or even when things are comfortable and you might slack off.
It's like saying personal growth isn't just a fair weather hobby, You got to stick with it.
Exactly. Like learning any skill, piano, a language, anything. Progress isn't always smooth sailing. There are ups and downs, but it's the consistent effort that matters. Same goes for cultivating inner peace.
Right. Okay, now we get to the core idea, dwelling in clear enlightenment.
Yes. Master Lu explains, once you attain clear enlightenment, your attachment to things will be dissolved. Constantly dwelling in clear enlightenment means they are eternally clear and enlightened, so that they can keep the Buddha and the Buddha nature constantly.
Eternally clear.
Everything comes and goes naturally. It appears from a state of emptiness and then returns to a state of emptiness. You will then understand that everything that happens and everything that you encounter is simply a natural phenomenon.
Okay, so the big takeaway here seems to be impermanence. Understanding that things don't last forever.
That feels central, yeah. For you listening, think about it. Joy, sadness, success, failure, they all come and go. Really grasping that can, theoretically, lessen anxiety about holding on too tight or fearing change so much.
It's about not clinging desperately to the good stuff and not getting totally flattened by the bad stuff because, neither state is permanent. But man, that's hard when you're really attached to something or someone.
Oh, it's definitely a process. It's not easy. But consider this for yourself. When you fight against change, does it usually bring more peace or more suffering?
Usually more suffering, trying to hold back the tide.
Right. So maybe letting go of that need to control everything, accepting the natural ebb and flow, can bring some relief.
Okay. And linked to that, he advises distancing ourselves from desire and seeking.
Yeah, he says, think about it. What can we truly obtain? If you can't obtain what you desire, you will only get suffering and afflictions instead. Only what comes to you naturally is truly meant for you.
So for you listening, maybe examine your motivations. Are you always chasing external things, more money, status, approval, believing that's the key to happiness?
Master Lu seems to suggest that real contentment often comes more from appreciating what is already here, focusing inward, rather than that endless external chase.
It's like finding happiness in the process, not just the prize, and realizing that maybe the things that come easily, without all the desperate striving, are actually more valuable.
Precisely. And just recognizing how much frustration can come from excessive wanting, from desire itself.
Okay.
Let's take a short break. Next, we'll look at one of Master Lu's most direct and practical teachings, how to remove negative thoughts the moment they arise.
Now, he gets very practical with advice on removing thoughts instantly.
Yeah, this is quite direct. Remove any thought the very instant it arises. Don't let it linger in your mind or it will bring you disaster.
Yeah, disaster. Strong word.
When a selfish thought, a greedy thought, or any unwholesome thought arises and you let it continue unchecked, it will be trouble. The moment you have an unwholesome thought or you're about to get angry, you must dispel it right away.
Okay. So imagine your mind is like a whiteboard. A negative thought pops up. Anger, jealousy, self-doubt. He's saying, wipe it off immediately. Don't let it sit there and stain the board.
That's a great analogy, yeah. Erase it quickly before it takes root and maybe spirals.
So it's about that immediate awareness. Catching it the second it appears and consciously choosing not to follow it down the rabbit hole. But how? Practically, how do you erase a thought?
Well, for you, it might involve distraction for the street, quickly shifting your focus to something else, something positive. Or maybe using an affirmation, replacing the negative with a positive statement.
Or just mindfulness again.
Yeah.
Seeing the thought, acknowledging it, and then intentionally letting it go without engaging.
Exactly. Different techniques might work for different people, but the key seems to be that immediate action. Don't let it linger.
Got it. Okay, finally, Master Lu wraps up by talking about transcending the mundane world.
Right. He says many disciples are cultivating themselves, but their minds are yet to transcend this mundane world. Remember, one should transcend this world. To transcend means, essentially, to awaken. One is like a truly empty container, with a mind free of contaminant, while the other is filled with many unending delusions and distracting thoughts. When you put your spiritual state in the world of afflictions and then try to cultivate, it will, of course, be an uphill battle.
Okay, the empty container analogy. So, for you listening, it's like trying to pour clean water into a glass full of mud.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. If your mind, the container, is already full of afflictions, worries, distractions, the mud, then pouring in wisdom or trying to cultivate clarity won't work very well. You need to clear out the mud first.
So transcending isn't about literally leaving the world, but about clearing your inner space, your mind, so you can experience life with more clarity.
That seems to be the sense of it. Cultivating a mind that isn't constantly dragged around by worries and desires, that clear space allows for deeper understanding, deeper growth.
Striving for that empty container state, a mind less cluttered, more open.
Exactly, which allows for, more profound learning and just a greater sense of peace, hopefully.
Okay, so let's try and bring it all together for you listening. this deep dive into Master Lu's Dwell in Clear Enlightenment. Well, it's really highlighted a few key things, hasn't it?
Yeah, like enduring hardship not just passively, but with inner growth. Actively managing those negative feelings, those afflictions, using wisdom.
Right. And cultivating that calm, focused mind, the ocean beneath the waves, accepting the flow of change, impermanence.
And the power of letting go of attachments, of negative thought patterns as soon as they arise.
And importantly, these aren't just like high-level ideas. They're meant to be practical tools, perspectives you can actually try using in your everyday life.
Exactly, to navigate challenges with maybe a bit more resilience, a bit more inner peace.
Definitely food for thought.
Yeah.
Now, just a reminder, this has been a nonprofit deep dive.
That's right.
If you want to explore Master Lu's teachings more, or if you have questions, do check out the show notes. We'll put links there.
And we genuinely love to hear from you. If there are any topics you'd like us to cover in future, just send us an email. Let us know.
Please do.
And maybe just as you go about your day, take a moment to ponder that phrase from Master Lu, constantly dwelling in clear enlightenment. What might that look like or feel like for you, even just for a moment?
A great thought to end on. Thanks for joining us.